A Florida pastor and his wife are planning to adopt two homeless infants who were discovered near naked outside their ministry's offices. "I don't think they've ever slept in a bed before," says the pastor's wife. The children were spotted by Ronnie and Crystal Stewart outside their church. The boys had been living with their parents in a wooded area of Pasco County when the incident occurred. The couple promised to bathe and feed them for one night in November in exchange for a little donation. However, when social services arrived to place the boys in foster care, they stepped in to help. The siblings are now being adopted by the couple, who already has 3 children of their own. In November, when Pastor Ronnie Stewart and his wife Crystal were requested to care for a pair of homeless toddlers on a November night, they knew they couldn't say no, but they had no idea that the 2 boys who came into their home would one day become members of their own extended family. The boys, one of whom was 2 years old and the other who was 7 months old, were discovered in a mound of trash bags outside the Metropolitan Ministries headquarters in Pasco County by Mark Purcell, the organization's executive chef. "They were actually 4 or 5 bags," he said in an interview with Fox 13. "A child in a car seat was perched on top of the suitcase," the witness said. "The other child was sitting here, his feet numb from being outside in the cold. They were only dressed in diapers and had no further clothing." Initial plans called for Pastor Ronnie Stewart and his wife Crystal to just clean and feed the infants, who'd been living with their parents in the woods. However, their plans changed, and they decided to adopt the pair. Ronnie, Riley, and Sella Stewart, the Stewarts' other children, have all welcomed their new brothers into the Stewart family home. The boys would have been placed in foster homes if the Stewarts hadn't taken them in. Purcell appeared to be on the prowl for the boys' mother, who appeared to be hiding. He found out that they were camped out in the woods and decided to go investigate. When Crystal and Ronnie from the town of Holiday were dining at a free food program operated by their refuge church in collaboration with the Metropolitan Ministries, they spotted them as well. They approached the family outside their church on November 6th, where they'd been sitting for around 10 hours, and asked if they could take the children into their home for the night to bathe and feed them. The parents agreed, and the couple took the children inside their home. The children's parents agreed, and Crystal and Ronnie, who already have 3 children of their own, took the youngsters into the household with them. "They were covered in mosquito bites from head to toe," Crystal said in an interview with Fox 13. "It was necessary for us to bathe them twice, drain them, and bathe them again because they were so filthy." The toddler, who did have shoes on and did not have socks on, says his mother, "It was so bad that when we pulled his shoes off, the tiny skin on the tops of his feet literally fell off." Crystal told Today that the youngsters then slept for a total of 10 hours straight. In her words, "I don't believe they've ever laid down in a bed before." The following day, they restored the youngsters to their parents' custody. However, the following day, their paths crossed once more. The parents came up to us as we were coming out of the service to talk to our car and ask, "Would you be willing to temporarily take our children until we figure out what we are going to do?" They're accompanied by their children and a social worker. Crystal spoke with Fox 13. "I remember looking at each other and realizing there was nothing else we could do. Of course we said yes." As a result of their 5-month caregiving commitment, the Stewarts have decided to adopt the boys, who will join 3 other children: Ronnie, age 15, Riley, 13, and Sella, who's 8. With a little help from a GoFundMe page created to gather money for adoption payments, their children have already begun to refer to the boys as their brothers, and the adoption paperwork is anticipated to be finished by the end of the month. In a statement on the GoFundMe website, Crystal said, "We could not ignore God's sense of humor. When my husband recalls the chat we had the day before we met the boys, he bursts out laughing. My entire hysterectomy was 6 weeks after I had it, following a battle with early cancer diagnosis. I was heartbroken and told my husband, 'Well, no more kids for us.' And while many would consider the couple to be heroes, they just believe they're carrying out God's will for the boys." As Crystal explains, "We don't look at it as if we're some kind of an elite group. We see them as unique, and we're thrilled to be a part of their journey," she said. After receiving an early cancer diagnosis that resulted in a full hysterectomy, Crystal says she didn't think she'd be able to have any more children. "We can't deny that God has a sense of humor," she added. Also, in another heartwarming story, couple lost their baby and the ability to conceive, but God sent a miracle. Mary Susan Williams has always wished to be a mother of her own children, and it's possible that's why she chose to become a teacher. But as much as she enjoyed working with children, she longed to be a mother to her own children one day. What she didn't realize was that she was about to go on a lengthy adventure. When Mary Susan and her husband found out they were pregnant for the first time, they were devastated when physicians told them during the first ultrasound that there were major difficulties and that the pregnancy would not be successful. In fact, the surgery that was performed as a result of these difficulties could potentially eliminate Mary Susan's chances of ever being pregnant again. However, the couple placed their trust in God and he saw them through to the other side safely. It was 3.5 years later that the couple learned that they were expecting again, and they were overjoyed. It was at that point that they launched their blog, Our Journey of Faith, and announced their pregnancy via the following announcement. Following the announcement that they'd be expecting a daughter, Mary Susan and Brandon decided to name her Danielle Grace. Week by week, their excitement, as well as Danielle's, rose even more. Suddenly, though, the impossible transpired. Loss is a heartbreaking experience for expecting parents. Mary Susan was sent to the hospital for abdominal pain when she was 22 weeks pregnant. It turned out that she had severe internal bleeding and that her uterus had ruptured while she was in surgery. This would have killed Mary Susan if she hadn't already been on the surgery table at the time. While physicians were able to preserve Mary Susan's life, Danielle was summoned to be with her Lord and Savior in heaven. The loss was difficult for Mary Susan and Brandon, but this wonderfully devout couple did not lose their trust in God in the midst of it. As a result, their Journey of Faith blog took on a deeper meaning, which they wonderfully summarized in the following. For faith is defined as the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen, according to Hebrews 11:1. Things hoped for, things not seen. This is the essence of religious belief. If we had the ability to see and understand everything, we wouldn't need to rely on faith. It's impossible for us to quit blogging about or adventure of faith simply because the journey did not take us where we expected it to take us. Not a destination, but a journey is what we are on. Beyond the heartbreak of losing Danielle, Mary Susan had also lost the ability to conceive any further children of her own. They had gone through the hardest agony they'd ever encountered, according to Mary Susan. They, on the other hand, continued to blog and put their faith in God. In order to find surrogate mothers, God uses the church and the blog. By that time, another couple, Autumn and Donovan Anderson, had heard Mary Susan and Brandon's story, an hour's drive away, thanks to mutual acquaintances of both couples who were members of the same church as the Andersons. In response to a prayer request at church, Autumn came across the story of Mary Susan and Brandon. After hearing their story, Autumn began reading the Our Journey of Faith blog on a regular basis and included the couple in her daily prayers. Autumn, it turns out, had always had an interest in becoming a surrogate, but had no idea how everything would come together in the right way. Reading the Williams blog made her realize that God had placed this desire on her heart and then directed her to the blog in order for her to be able to deliver this great gift to the Williams family. She expressed herself as follows. I'd be willing to help someone have a child. 9 months of sacrifice would alter the course of their lives for the rest of their lives. Finally, Autumn shared her surrogacy desires with their common acquaintances, who in turn shared it with Mary Susan and Brandon, who were thrilled to hear about it. The pieces of God's plan are coming together. Mary Susan was undecided about how she felt about the proposal. Surrogacy was something that the doctor had mentioned as a possibility after Danielle passed away. It was at that point that Mary Susan informed Brandon that she would only consider the proposal if, and then she proceeded to create an extensive list of ifs that she was confident no one would ever be able to meet in the future. However, after exchanging a few emails and phone calls with Autumn, she and Brandon reluctantly decided to, at the very least, meet with the Anderson family. After supper, the two couples got together and Autumn had ticked off every box on Mary Susan's list in less than 15 minutes. Autumn became pregnant with the Williams child only 3 months after becoming engaged. Mary Susan and Brandon's hopes of becoming parents were rekindled all of a sudden. Mary Susan expresses herself as follows. When we were holding Danielle and saw her grabbing my nose and Brandon's feet, it was a very special moment for us, and we were under the impression that at the very least, that portion of the dream was good for us. Autumn, on the other hand, has brought that hope back to us. Everything is transformed by a miracle. Autumn Anderson gave birth to the couple's son, Colin Anderson, fulfilling Mary Susan's lifelong desire of becoming a mother for the first time. They'd been waiting for this moment for 10 years, suffering through setback after setback. Throughout it all, however, the couple stayed devoted to God above, placing their faith in His plan for the future. They acknowledged that it was a difficult process. Brandon, on the other hand, put it best in his blog entry following Danielle's passing.